do you interface them? Well, if I come around the other side, this is just one way to interface them with what we call an input-output card or an interface card. There are several different ones on the market. Some are easier than others. This one works well for most setups. It's very easy to use. I've chosen to go with this one to start with because of its ease of use, and I just wanted to get up and running to start with. This one here is called the BU0836X. It's by Leo Bodner, and it's 32 switches. You can also attach encoders to it as well. It also has 5 volts that it gets from the USB cable. And simply up here you'll see that the switches from under here, how they're poking through the top. The switch itself has, I'll find one that's a little bit closer, simply a red and black wire coming out the top for the LED light, and the ones that I have attached and are actually using at the moment, I've just got 2 more inputs for the switch itself, and the wire runs down and simply goes into the card. Red for the actual switch and black for ground. So all you do is you run the wire from your switch, plug it into this card, and then goes to your computer, and through the software, when you flick the switch, this registers that flick of the switch, transfers it through to Flight Sim, and it allows you, through a wonderful program called FSUIPC, you can then program that switch to do whatever you want in Flight Sim. So for instance, the left isolation switch, just program that when I push this button, it sends a signal from the switch through Leo Bodner's card, which then transfers that signal into something that Flight Sim can recognise, and Flight Sim says, hey, something's been pressed here, what do you want me to do? Then you go into the software in Flight Simulator and you say, when I press this button on, I want the left isolation switch to be activated. When I push the button again, I want the left isolation to be deactivated. Simple as that, doesn't get any harder. There's a few quirks to do that. When I say it doesn't get any harder, there are a few little things and some traps and pitfalls you've got to be careful of. Once again, it's a bit trial and error, but that's the basics of it. It doesn't really get any harder than that when it comes to interfacing switches. There are plenty of other gadgets and wonderful things for Flight Simulator that you can add in. Radios, for instance, lots of different companies build radios, Go Flight, Open Cockpits, lots of others, Flightget Solutions. They've got some wonderful radio gears. A lot of them are just plug and play. Say for instance Go Flight, you just buy the radio, it's got a USB, you put it in on your panel, hook in the USB to your computer, through the software it recognises it, and there you go, you'll have a radio for your Flight Sim. It's really not that hard. Okay, landing gear lever. Some people have no idea how to build a landing gear lever. It's really not that hard. I built this one in a day. As you can see, mine is the up, down, and sometimes curiously off. Obviously, you have the gear up, you can have the gear down, but more often than not, most aircraft, after they've taken off, when the gear is raised, they then bring the gear down to the off position to relieve the pressure in the system, just so that in case they have any leaks, things like that. You'll see inside there's some tracks that I've cut out. This is just aluminium, okay? This is just aluminium tubing, and with a spring inside, so that and the spring is against a bar right at the back there. You see the bar going across here? That has a spring attached to it, and inside this bar is another bar which this front bit is connected to. So when I pull this out, it's pulling on a spring, and when I let it go, the spring wants to force it back in. And you'll see the mechanism at the back there has also a little bar on it. So when you can't move the gear up and down because it's locked inside this little channel. In order to manoeuvre the actual gear lever, you need to pull it out through the channel, slide it up, and then when it gets to the top section, it wants to automatically spring back down into the locking position. So to give you an example, pull out, you go up, and then it latches. You can't move it. In order to bring it back in the down position, you just do exactly the opposite. You pull it out, slide it down, and then it wants to lock in the down position. Very effective and very realistic. So how does the actual gear lever work in Flight Sim? Real easy. All I've done, I've just used one switch. Now you may be able to see that switch, which is located just in there, and that's it. It's a momentary switch, okay, and it's just got a black and red wire which then goes up into that Leo Bodner's interface card. So you'll see that when I bring this gear lever in the down position, the actual lever itself pushes down on that button, and I've programmed FSUI PC to recognise when that's in the down position, it's pushing the button down. When that button is in the down position, I've asked it to say gear down. When the button is released, I've then asked FSUI PC to say gear up. So, and that's it. Put the gear down, pushes the button, gear down. Release the button, gear up. So that way, I haven't run into any problems just yet. The only one that I have sort of run into is occasionally if you don't push the gear lever all the way in, you sometimes get a bit of an argument from Flight Sim. It wants to put the gear up when you're trying to put it down. So most people will have 2, maybe even 3 switches. They'll have one micro switch here and another switch at the top, and maybe even one in the middle for the off position, depending on what software you're using. I would say that it's a better idea to have 2 switches. That way you can eliminate any bouncing on just the one switch. But this one seems to work for now. So there you go. The glare shield I've just made out of MDF as well. I just made that out of 12mm MDF, cut it to the shape, and then made an extra bit at the front here, which the 767 has. And I just used the measurements that were in the guide that I used. The actual panels on the side here, the glare panels, these ones I bought from the same fella I got the remote control panel from. These panels are once again made by Phil. They're backlit panels, as you can see. All I've done is put 2 LED lights, one in here, one in here. Use the 5-volt power supply at the front to bring power to them, and they light up just fine. I've got one on the other side there as well. Eventually I will have rotary switches going in here for different lighting and things like that. I've already put one switch in here at the moment. It's a on-off switch which uses 12-volt power to light up the remote control panel strip lighting, which is underneath the glare. The 767 has exactly the same, sort of a reddish orange LED light that lights up the panel. This one's showing up very bright through this camera. It's not actually that bright when you look at it from where I am. It's quite nice. So yeah, all this was a $29 LED strip light that I got from the local electrical store, and it was actually a cool white colour. It wasn't. You can buy them in red, and you can buy them in all sorts of different colours off of eBay if you want to. This one was just close and handy, and I bought it. All I've done is put red cellophane across here. There's about 4 layers of red cellophane here to bring out that orange colour. You can even sneak through there. You can actually see the white colour that it was, and then I've just added the cellophane to it to get the red effect, which works quite well. I'll improve it as time goes on. All I'm trying to do is get this flight sim to a stage where I can fly an entire flight using all the functions of the sim and not have to use the mouse or the keyboard.